How's it going, everybody? This is Seer here, and today we have our Power Trios video for you guys. Now, the last time I did this was back in January, and since then we've had two new teams come out in the game. The Liberty team, who is an amazing war team, and the Starjammers, who kind of fell flat. I'm not sure what's going on with them, whether it's bugs or if they need some changes. However, we do need Lilandra for the Professor Xavier unlock, so I do have to take that into account when rating this team. So with that, the Power Trios video, if you guys haven't seen it before, I basically rate all of the important teams in the game right now, as well as what characters you want to invest in, which is usually 3 characters per team, so that we can maximize your resources. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And the first team for you guys today is going to be the Annihilators. This is the #1 team, in my opinion, in the game. They are an arena team, as well as being very good in Alliance War and Cosmic Crucible. Now, as far as the 3 characters you want to invest in, that's going to be Gladiator, who's the #1 pre-taunting tank in the game right now. Very good character as far as spawning in with Safeguard and Taunt. We have Thanos Endgame, who has ways to remove positive effects from your opponent's side of the field, whether that's by using his ultimate or by getting pushed past his health threshold of about 50%. And then we have Gore, who's an amazing damage dealer. He also has these symbiote tags. When Null does come out, we should be able to pair Null with the Annihilators team and really give extra life to the Annihilators team. At least that's what I'm hoping and what I plan to do when we get Null unlocked. The #2 team in the game is going to start with the raid teams, and this is going to be the Nightstalkers. Now, the Nightstalkers are the Mystic raid team of the current raids that we currently have that should carry over to the next raid season whenever the new raids end up coming out. This team is also very good in Alliance War and Cosmic Crucible, and they even mentioned in the data mines for the Professor Xavier unlock that Blade and Oath are recommended to be used in the city section, which I was already planning to use, so I just kind of confirmed my theory about that. As far as Agatha goes, I am looking to take her into the global villain section. I don't have it locked in, but she's definitely on my list of characters that I want to end up taking in there. Now, Blade is an amazing character where he has a lot of turn meter rewinds. Oath, she has an exposed mechanic where she can get out of turn damage. And Agatha with her pings, barrier, and that devastating ultimate. These 3 characters are definitely on the list as far as the Power Trios. The next team on the list for the #3 spot is going to be another raid team, which is the Orcus team. Now, with the Orcus team, Lady Deathstrike is an amazing character again, with turn meter rewinds, nasty damage with the special and the ultimate, and Nimrod is a monster. With the new stats that he has, the ultimate and the special with the flip, he is a very high damage dealer for this team, and there's ways to be able to boost his speed by having tech summoned on the field. So you can end up manipulating that by using Mysterio, Dr. Doom, Sentinel himself. There's a lot of ways you can kind of go about that. The 3rd spot for the Power Trios is kind of controversial, I think. I really like Omega Sentinel on this team. A lot of people do end up subbing her out. However, with the outer turn damage that she has an ability block, she has a stun, she has a very, very good kit, as well as a way to self-sustain by having the passive heals on herself as well. She also has a chance to revive. I just think that people kind of sleep on her a little bit too much. The other 2 characters on this team is Sentinel and Scientist Supreme. Now, people really like Scientist Supreme, which I love her. She's an amazing character to where she's able to get that turn 1 ult, but she's a kit-based character. Once she ends up getting the ult off, she just kind of sits there. She does have ways to heal and a passive revive for the team as well. However, you don't really need her huge. So if you don't want to go with the Mega Sentinel, the next best option, in my opinion, would be Sentinel. Having it to where his Sentinel bots are more powerful so they can kind of withstand more of a beating because they do taunt. And his ultimate hits very hard. So if he ever makes it to that turn where he can end up getting an ult off and do massive damage to a team, that's another good option. However, I'm just more partial to Omega Sentinel as the 3rd piece for the Power Trio. The 4th team on the list is another raid team, and that's going to be the Uncanny Avengers. Now, this team here is part of the new Spotlight raid, And I'm going to end up breaking this up as well to where we end up looking to see where the Mighty Avengers and Immortal X-Men end up sitting on the list. But as far as the raid portion, I feel that this is the best trio. So we have Hercules, who has his standing passive to where any member on this team ends up taking the turn. They can strip buffs off. As a plug-and-play character, he has some use on the offensive side where he can kind of help take buffs off, charges off, revives off of characters that he ends up attacking. It's just his speed's 126. He doesn't really have a way to get speed up on him, which does kind of hurt him with the meta that we're currently sitting at. Storm's special, being able to get that trauma stun out there, and the ultimate to where if she gets about 11 to 20 charges, she just kind of deletes the other side of the field. It's pretty nasty. And then Jean Grey, she scales incredibly well, which I kind of figured would end up happening. I'd have her as the number 3 position on here. The special, being able to have a form of turn meter rewind, ability blocks. The ultimate does a massive hit to the entire team as well. I really like this portion here as the trio. Now, the other 2 members on this team are Beast and Falcon. We're going to discuss those characters when we make it to that portion of the list. The number 5 spot is another raid team. That's going to be the Alpha Flight team. And it's the 3 characters that we use all the time for plug and play. That's going to end up being Sasquatch, who's a very good pre-taunt, where he's not really a pre-taunt in a traditional sense. Anytime your opponent takes a turn, he gets taunt put on himself. So unless he has Disrupt, the taunts just keep coming at the opponent, which is amazing. Guardian, being able to have the offense up to the entire team. And then we have North Star, who's a very good plug and play to where you can try to remove revive once with the ultimate, and the flips as well with the ultimate because of how fast he is. These 3 right here are very good on war defense as well, and you can even break them apart and kind of use them in a plug and play sense. Now, after that, we go to the number 6 slot, and that's going to end up being the Astral team. You notice that we don't have the other 3 raid teams on here. That's going to be the Extreme X-Men, Spider Society, and Hive Mind. Now, because of the rumors and kind of a confirmation in a sense that a new raid is coming based on a lot of information that's kind of being thrown out there, and it's kind of time for a new raid as well. Those 3 teams are going to be towards the bottom portion of the list, and we will still discuss them. In my opinion, though, stop building those teams because we should have new ones coming once we kind of see what this new raid that's probably coming around the corner is going to be. Then we can kind of assess if we need to take those teams to a certain power level. But for now, I would just kind of sit on your resources and don't take them any higher. Now, the number 5 team, I believe it's number 5, the next team on the list is going to be the Astral team. Now, we have Shadow King, Ancient One, and Doctor Strange as far as the power trio on this list. Shadow King is an amazing character, and people slept on him when he came out because he wasn't as game-breaking as Old Man Logan was when he came to the game. Shadow King still has a very unique kit to where he's able to remove trauma and negative effects on his side of the field with his ultimate ability, and then the possessed pings that can kind of go out of the opponent, and he has that ability block on his special, and he can't get trauma. He has a very unique kit that's going to kind of stand the, not the test of time, but it's going to stand for quite some time. Ancient One is a very good character as well, to where her ultimate, she has an ultimate or a stun ability built into it, and the special being able to flip positive effects on the other side of the field while giving counterattack to your allies. She's an amazing plug and play character that I've actually used in those cases at times. The 3rd member of this team is going to end up being Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange had a very good rework to where the special is able to flip positive effects as well, and if an ally ends up getting killed, he gains additional ability energy for his ultimate, so we can end up getting that revive and basically resetting the battlefield by giving a nice heal, bring back all the characters on his side of the field, and kind of set the tone again for the matchup. He has won and lost matches. Basically, me going into him, he gets an ult off, and I lose a match because of it. So these 3 right here, I would definitely recommend as the power trio for the Astral team. And it also helps that this is a Battle World team with the Awakened abilities that flex into Alliance Wars. So very good team. The next position on the list, I was kind of torn on how I want to approach this. With Kahori and Ms. Marvel Classic, they are a very powerful power couple in this game, to where Ms. Marvel Classic is kind of a tank that goes all day, and Kahori being a one-woman army to where she can basically win solo matches just with her on the battlefield. These two are very, very good characters, Kahori being one of those top 5 characters in the game right now. As far as a power trio goes, I decided to go with Medusa. Previously on this list, I had Wasp on here. We didn't really have ways to get Medusa, so I wasn't able to see the full power of her until I faced a 3-diamond Medusa in Cosmic Crucible, and she one-shot my Guardian right off the bat when you had defense up and safeguard. She just picked him up off the battlefield and basically sold my entire team. So Medusa is definitely on the list, especially her being a beat stick character to where she is just pure damage. Those type of characters scale very well when you end up getting those diamonds and high gear tier into them. If you don't have a way to really get those Medusa shards, you can definitely go with Wasp, because that special can delete characters and that ultimate hits the entire battlefield very hard. So that's another good option they could end up doing if you don't have Medusa to really push into. Now we have the Merks for Money team, which is another war team. So you do see that I do value war. This is basically 2.5 war teams right here, because this is a Battle World team first, then Alliance War. So for the Merks for Money team, I do have a change on this list. Previously, I ended up having Deadpool as the 3rd member on here. That was mainly due to the Cosmic Crucible season that we were currently in, to where we could use that 3-piece Merks for Money, where it's Old Man Logan, Deadpool, and Pandapool, and they just kind of have a self-sustaining revive where it's an endless loop, and it was very good for offensive weapon. Now, with the change in Cosmic Crucible and with the current way that the Alliance War is, Dakin really stepped up. Dakin is able to be flexed off the Merks for Money team if you want to go that route, put him with the Underworld team, because he does have the villain mercenary tag to where Taskmaster can really synergize with him, and those characters have pretty good buffs. The other option you can go is you can take Old Man Logan off the Merks for Money team, throw him elsewhere with some X-Men characters like Phoenix, for instance, who had that rework, and then you could end up sliding a different 5th member in here, such as an Ares or a Dorm or something of that sort, and you can still get value out of it. So being able to really flex that way does give value. So the power trio for the Merks for Money would be Pandapool, Old Man Logan, and Dakin. The next team we have on this list is going to be the Phoenix Force team, and I wasn't sure where I initially want to place this team, because I know not everybody has a big Omega Red Phoenix Force. Knowing the power that the Phoenix Force has together and the Omega Red Phoenix Force of what he could end up doing at a 6-6 level right now, I think that I would have them as the #1 Cosmic Crucible team because of that. If you don't have that big of Omega Red Phoenix Force, I would end up swapping it to where Illuminati would take place over the Phoenix Force characters. But there really isn't much to say about the Phoenix Force. They are a very good team to where we have Phoenix and Omega Red Phoenix Force. And this team with, say, a Black Knight and Apocalypse, that's kind of your core 4. Then you could slot in, say, Echo, and that could end up taking out the Illuminati Odin team. Or you could end up slotting in the 3 Annihilators, and that could end up taking out certain Mephisto comps. So the way that this team flexes is very powerful in Cosmic Crucible. So I do have to give this as the #1 spot for Cosmic Crucible. And the only reason I don't have this team higher up is because we have a Battle World team to where we get Null Shards. They announced it's going to be another Battle World coming in September for a new character to get there. So Battle World's going to be a very important game mode, as well as this being able to flex into Alliance War. The reason I end up going with the Absolute A-Force as the next team on the list on here is mainly due to Kahori and Ms. Marvel Classic, to how they could end up flexing in other game modes. And then we have Old Man Logan and the Merks for Money. So it was a very difficult list to figure out where I want to place the Phoenix Force team, and I think I did a pretty good job on this one. The next team on the list is going to be the Illuminati team, and that's going to end up being Captain Britain. We have Black Panther Shuri, and we have Hank Pym. Now, even though this team does not have the new stats, this was right before Ares came out for the power jump that ended up happening in the game. But in Cosmic Crucible, this team is still a monster, even with Odin on the team and with Starjammers being in the game. They're still pulling their weight, and being able to kind of pull that and the way Starjammers is not performing as it should. For now, I do have to acknowledge this team is going to be here on this list. Now, we do have Captain Britain, who's that epic character. Hopefully, you guys were able to start getting more shards as they brought back more and more of the events. Black Panther Shuri is a monster with this team. And Hank Pym, even when the Illuminati kind of falls off, we can end up taking Captain Britain elsewhere and use the remaining Illuminati members on offense. I think that's how it's going to end up going in the near future. I don't know how soon, but I think that's going to end up happening. And Hank Pym being able to give that speed up to hero characters to where he is able to flex that way is going to be very good. The Illuminati team is also good in Alliance War. We could use them on offense or defense to take out certain teams in the game already. Now I have the Immortal X-Men. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put Immortal X-Men here or Cabal above it. The tiebreaker for me was the Immortal X-Men has the new stats, and they both stop turn meter in their own right. Cabal needs to get the vulnerable out there, whereas the Immortal X-Men doesn't need that function. So those were kind of the tiebreakers in that sense. Now, we already discussed the Uncanny Avengers to where we had Jean Grey and Storm. The third member of this team I have as Beast right now. The other two members would be a Cabal or would be Polaris. The reason I went with Beast is due to the heals and trying to make sure that he ends up staying alive to where he can end up doing the special for the cleanse and the ultimate to be able to give the buffs to the entire team. I could see a world where Cabal would end up taking the priority because he has more plug and play use even after the team falls off because of how he can manipulate that turn meter on spawn. I can definitely see that. Thinking about it right now as I'm making this video, I think I'm still going to keep it as Beast on here just due to the cleanse, the buffs that he gets to the team, and how he actually functioned with the team as a whole. But as a standalone, I think Cabal would take the nod over that. Cabal also does some very good damage, so you can kind of take that as it currently stands. In the future, I may end up swapping Beast out for Cabal, just due to the damage that Cabal can provide in that turn meter on spawn. So let's go ahead and talk about the next team before I keep rambling about the Immortal X-Men. So the next team on the list is going to be the Cabal team, and this is just a 3-person team. You slide in 2 villains, and they can kind of slaughter everything. Now we have Iron Patriot, Namor, and Leader on here. Just build all 3 of them up. They still do very well in Cosmic Crucible. If you want, you can try to use them in the Global Villain section for Dark Dimension 8 and in the Professor Xavier saga. I would not recommend taking the team yet in the Professor Xavier saga. Save your gear. Let's see what needs to happen because we need a lot more information for the saga. But they are all global villains and different origin traits, which is something to look forward to. Now we have the Liberty team. So because I have higher value in Cosmic Crucible, that's why I had to drop this team where this currently sits. If Liberty can stand on its own in Cosmic Crucible, which they were able to take out the Starjammers. You probably saw that video that I ended up doing. They may end up raising higher on the list. If you are more into Alliance War, you could end up swapping, in my opinion, the Illuminati, the Immortal X-Men, and Cabal with the next 2 teams on the list, which, as you see, Liberty team and the Undying team. The Liberty team can take out pretty much anything in Alliance War right now. You're able to take out Absolute A-Force with Mephistos, with Odin's, with both of them combined, because Liberty is that good in Alliance War. They are fantastic. Something you could end up doing is taking out Captain Sam, sliding in Ultimus, and using Captain Sam elsewhere if you want to do some hybrid versions for this team. But as the team stands, as the 5-person team, the power trio would end up being right now Captain Sam, Peggy Carter, and Falcon Joaquin. Now Patriot, he is going to be one of those beatstick characters on this team. I want to see what ends up happening when we get more shards for Patriot right now, because right now mine's only a 3-3, whereas my Falcon's about to become a 5-5, and I can already see the power that he gets to the team. Falcon's also the healer on the team, which you do want to end up surviving. Captain Sam, he's the tank on the team. The bigger the Sam, the more you could end up taking. Then we got Peggy as the passive damage. What I could see happening in the future, maybe Captain Sam drops off a little bit, maybe as the 4th member, and Patriot takes his slot because of how much damage he can pump out. So I want to see how this team ends up evolving, but for now, this is where I have the power trio for the Liberty team. Next up, we have the Undying team. The zombie team is fantastic in Alliance War. They're one of those teams as well that can kind of take out Mephisto comps and Odin comps with the right support characters. As I mentioned before, you could end up sliding in Omega Red Phoenix Force as one of the 5th members on this team, or you could end up sliding in Dorm, Ghost Rider Robbie. There's a lot of characters that can flex into this team and just delete anything on the other side of the field. The power trio for this is going to end up being Juggernaut Zombie, Hela, and Scarlet Witch Zombie. Zombie Iron Man, he is a kit-based character to where the enemy starts to kill themselves, and he just keeps coming back. So you don't really need a high investment in Zombie Iron Man, but the bigger the Zombie Iron Man, he does end up pumping out actually pretty good damage. So I do want to acknowledge that one. And now we have the Starjammers team. So this team here, the reason I have it above Mighty Avengers, as you see, is because Lilandra is going to be required for that Professor Xavier unlock. And Starjammers right now is performing on the defensive side of Cosmic Crucible. It's just on the offensive side, they're not really hitting the mark as far as taking out those Mephisto teams, those Odinati teams, or Super Skrull teams. People are struggling with Super Skrulls. The team I went against was the Liberty team with Super Skrull. Now, Super Skrull does give them extra health. However, I was not able to get through them on the opening barrage, and then when they started attacking me back, I just started falling apart, and I had more stars on my team than they did on theirs. So that's kind of saying something. So right now, the Starjammers team I do have currently placed underneath of the Undying team, above the Mighty Avengers. The reason the Mighty Avengers I have right here, this team is able to take out a lot of Mephisto comps. Nightstalkers Mephisto, this team is able to take a lot of those teams out. The reason I don't have this team higher is because there's just something about the team. They're kind of that heat-seeking missile. They can't take everything out, but the things they're built to take out, they can take out, if that kind of makes sense. So they're just kind of limited in what use I can use them for in Alliance War. And usually is going to be those Mephisto cons, which people are starting to pull Mephisto off of defense, making it to where I kind of built this team and I have a lot of marks to take, but it doesn't feel good using them on there. So that's kind of my distaste for the Mighty Avengers, but they are still very good. The power trio for this, I do have as Hercules, Falcon, and Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch, she's been kind of flexed into Cosmic Crucible right now, where it's like a Wanda's Revenge type of team, or we have Falcon, who's very good at turn meter manipulation, and the ultimate just deletes people outright. I didn't really talk about the Starjammers. The trio I have for this right now is going to be Rocket Raccoon, Lilandra, and Howard the Duck. I don't have Havoc on here. I actually like Howard the Duck better because of the damage output that you could end up doing, and he has more of a better kit, in my opinion, than Havoc. Lilandra we need for that Professor Xavier unlock. And Rocket Raccoon, 3 diamond rockets, when he gets that ultimate off, just deletes people. Havoc is a very good damage dealer, don't get me wrong. I just prefer Rocket at this time because we are able to get him up to those 3 diamonds, which is able to just kind of delete waves and enemies off the battlefield. He also has ways of getting those death proofs to where he can kind of stay longer and keep the damage output going. So that's why I have him there. After the Mighty Avengers, I do have an older team on here, which is the Superior 6 team. Now, previously, I would end up talking about the pretty much the full Sinister and Superior 6 as a whole family. I think it's kind of at the time right now in the game, because this team is kind of keep falling down and eventually falling off with the new stats coming in the game, to just kind of acknowledge the 3 now. So that's going to end up being Green Goblin Classic. He's the legendary character. He has turn meter rewinds, traumas, a very powerful kit. We have Spider Slayer, who's able to give offense up, and the ultimate can really just delete a lot of characters on the other side of the field. And then Craven, to where he's able to use that ultimate, get permakills out there. He has an ability block out there. This team also works very well in Alliance War. the kind of elephant in the room is how Lizard is still a very good character. Doc Ock is a very good character for this team. Mysterio, Vulture, all of those characters are very good, but I don't know if I would say to invest in all of those characters at this point in the game, mainly due to the post-Ares stat rework. If you're not familiar, the post-Ares stats, when Ares came to the game, it basically reset the way the stats work in the game, and these newer characters ever since Ares came out just have so much more of a massive stat jump than those pre-Ares characters, which is this character right here. Now we have the Mythic characters currently in the game. Odin and Mephisto is the top two dogs right now. We are on our way to getting Professor Xavier. He's going to end up making this list as well. We have Apocalypse, who had that Apocalypse saga. He's still a very good, very powerful character due to his empowered punch, to where he's able to take off about 60% of the character's health, bypassing any triggers such as Thanos Endgame. Super Skrull is still a very good character with the being able to work with 2 heroes, 2 villains, or just throw him on with all villains, so he keeps the damage portion of it, the speed manipulation. He's going to slowly start moving more towards an offensive weapon, I feel, once everything settles down with Professor Xavier and everything. Or you can end up keeping him on defense and use him as Cabal bait or Immortal X-Men bait, saying to use those characters there. But I could see him moving more towards an offensive weapon in the future. Ultimus, he's part of the Annihilators team. He is a very good tank killer. Being able to get all the turn meter due to Hans being on the other side of the field and then ulting into them and doing a lot of Mike Tyson punch out on them, he's actually really good as a tank killer. Now I want to acknowledge a few of the plug-and-play characters in the game that we didn't really talk about. Black Knight is kind of the apex of what a plug-and-play is. He's been moved to offense to help counter Super Skrulls or Kahoris on defense, or even the Illuminati Odin teams. He's a very vital part in that type of counter. We have the new Emma Frost X-Men, part of the Nightstalkers team. She is able to basically shut down speed on the other side of the field, which is going to be important if we ever see Null on the defensive side in Cosmic Crucible, or Nightstalkers on the defensive Cosmic Crucible, as he's able to shut down that speed and kind of get the jump with the entire team. We have Kang, who's able to do some turn meter manipulation. He's been kind of the unofficial 4th member of the Cabal team because of that. The turn meter, getting slows out there, turn meter rewinds, permakills, he does it all. Spider Weaver, the reason I ended up putting her back on the list is due to having certain Illuminati Odin counters that do use Spider Weaver built into them. In Cosmic Crucible, she's able to get those 5 charges, which makes it to where the opponent has minus 100 accuracy on them, making it to where they end up missing, which does factor into the Odin battlefield effect. So those charges kind of bypass that portion of the matchup to where you can kind of get some very clean, efficient counters into the Illuminati Odin. Now we have Ares in here. Like I mentioned, he's kind of the reason we have the pre and post Ares characters in the game. He's very good in Alliance, where he doesn't have a team, but he's a very good plug-and-play character to where you can end up slotting him with certain teams, such as the Undying team, for instance, or maybe Merks for money, and really lift the team up as he takes all the buffs off the other side of the field and takes it for himself. Now, I don't want to go too in-depth with this. This is going to end up being the Extreme X-Men, the Spider Society, and the Hive Mind. These teams are kind of on the way out because, as I mentioned, there should be a new raid coming, and these are the 3 teams that will end up getting replaced. So we have the Extreme X-Men, the highest of the 3. The reason I end up putting them higher up here is because of Professor Xavier. He has that X-Men tag we found out, so characters such as Nightcrawler and Gambit can pair with Xavier, giving that extra health and damage boost to them. Then you could slot in, say, Phoenix in here and Old Man Logan, and that could be a very interesting, powerful X-Men team. So this 3 characters right here, Forge, Gambit, and Nightcrawler, I feel will have some use in the future when Professor Xavier comes out. We had the Spider Society team, which is the skill section, and this team here, they were turning to be the next Infinity Watch team because how their buffs are, how they're able to keep the sustain going, and these 3 characters are actually very good. When the new raid team ends up coming out, I think we can still find some use for the 3 of these characters. That's Peter B. Parker, Spider-Man Pavitra, and Penny Parker. Spider-Man Pavitra, he's going to have the longest run due to his kits. Getting vulnerables out on the other side of the field, having ways to get slow out there as well. He's a very powerful plug-and-play character that we can keep an eye on. And now we have the Hive Mind team. I think even with Null coming to the game, this team isn't going to be as powerful as, say, the X-Men to Xavier, in my opinion. I think Void Knight could have some use due to that turn 1 ult where he could bring everybody together, flip those positive effects, and having that extra symbiote tag, being able to give Null extra speed. That could be an offensive weapon with Null, I think. Or maybe, like I said, we can have Null with Annihilators and maybe Void Knight. That could be an interesting combination. Then the other 2 characters we have as a power trio would be Carnage and Red Goblin. Red Goblin, he works very well to where if there's a lot of negative effects or positive effects, that ultimate can just kind of delete the other side of the battlefield. But due to his age, I don't see that they're going to end up standing up with Null when he ends up coming out. But that is the Power Trios video. So that's the ranking of teams that you should invest in. These 3 teams, though, I would end up stopping. I just had to kind of put them on the list because they are raid teams on here and what characters you should be investing in with that team. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.